My hands shake as I set this basket of eggs on the table, their shells warm from the hens clucking softly in the yard, each one a fragile gift in a life heavy with loss. I'm Mary Rose Catalano, 75 years old, and I've buried almost everyone I loved. My parents, my brothers, my sister, 2 of my children, my James, taken by poverty's grind, pride's sharp edges, and a world that moves on while you're still bleeding. I was born Maria Rosa Moretti in a tiny Italian village, carrying its songs and sorrows across an ocean to Willow Creek, New York, where I scrape by selling tomatoes and eggs, my hands as rough as the earth I've worked my whole life. This story isn't a fairy tale. It's raw, woven with fights that shattered my family, love that stitched me together, and losses that carved my heart hollow but left me standing. Stay with me, because this is about holding on to hope when everything slips through your fingers, and it might echo your own struggles, the loves you fought for, the scars you carry, the strength you found to keep going. I came into the world in 1950 in San Giovanni, Italy, a speck of a village where golden hills shimmered under the sun, the air thick with olive blossoms, lavender, and the warm scent of Mama's bread fresh from the oven. Our stone cottage was small, its red-tiled roof sagging like an old man's shoulders, but it was alive with love, its walls holding our laughter and tears. Nonna Rosa was our heart, her hands never still, kneading focaccia, knitting wool scarves, or brushing my hair as she sang of sailors lost to storms, lovers waiting on cliffs for ships that never returned. Her songs are etched in my soul, whispering, when I close my eyes, a faint echo of a life left behind. Papa Antonio was a cobbler, his fingers stained with leather, his eyes tired but kind when he smiled, his stories of Naples' bustling markets painting the air at supper. Mama Teresa tended a garden of zucchini, tomatoes, and basil, her bread drawing neighbors like bees, their voices filling our kitchen with warmth, spoons clinking against bowls of her vegetable soup. I had 2 older brothers, Giovanni and Carlo, and a little sister, Angela, my shadow, her pigtails bouncing as she ran after me, her giggles brighter than the stars we chased at dusk, catching fireflies in jars, their glow like tiny prayers we'd release into the night. We were dirt poor, the kind where supper was often bread dipped in oil, sprinkled with salt, and a new dress was a Christmas miracle. Shoes were patched until the soles were more thread than leather. An orange split 5 ways, a treat we savored, its juice sweet on our tongues. But love made it enough. Giovanni, 3 years older, was wild, climbing olive trees, stealing figs from Signora Bianchi's orchard, dodging her broom with a grin that could charm the moon. Carlo, a year younger than Giovanni, was quiet, carving wooden birds under our fig tree, lost in tattered books borrowed from Father Lorenzo, the village priest who saw a spark in his shy mind. Angela, 5 years younger, begged for stories of princesses and dragons, her eyes wide as the moon, her small hands clutching mine as we sat on the stone steps. We'd chase fireflies, their light flickering like hope, and at supper, we'd gather around Mama's table, eating her soup thickened with day-old bread, Papa's hands waving as he told tales of his youth. Life was hard but sweet like Nonna's, bitter espresso, softened by her smile as she watched us, her eyes bright with love. The war's shadow lingered, though, a bruise on the land. By 1960, when I was 10, Italy was still broken, villages crumbling, people hungry. Papa's customers dwindled, his cobbler's bench dusty, his hands empty, his face carved with worry deeper than the cracks in our walls. I'd hear him and Mama whisper at night, their voices sharp as thorns, the lamplight casting shadows like ghosts. "America's our only hope, Teresa," Papa said one evening, his tone heavy as the stones lining our garden, his words carrying a finality that chilled me. Mama's rosary beads clicked, her tears silent but shining, each one a weight in my chest. I didn't understand leaving Nonna, the olive groves, the stars that felt close enough to touch. But I knew goodbye would change us, a severing of roots that held us to the earth. In April 1961, we packed our lives into 2 battered suitcases and a wooden crate tied with rope. Nonna stood at the gate, her shawl slipping, her eyes wet as she pressed a silver cross into my hand, its edges worn from her touch. "For strength, Maria Rosa," she whispered, her voice breaking like dry twigs. I clutched it, unable to speak, my throat tight with tears I wouldn't let fall. Angela clung to my hand, her fingers cold, her voice trembling. "Will we see Nonna again, Maria?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. I lied and said yes, because the truth was too heavy for her small heart, and maybe for mine. The ship to New York was a world of strangers, Italians, Poles, Greeks, all carrying dreams and dread, our voices a chorus of hope and fear. I stood at the rail, watching San Giovanni shrink into a golden smudge, the sea swallowing my home, my chest aching with fear and hope, the cross biting into my palm. Ellis Island was chaos. Shouts, papers, weary faces, a labyrinth of stamps and forms we couldn't read, our names scribbled into a new life. We were sent to Willow Creek, a poor town near Albany, where houses sagged like tired old women fields, stretched wide but barren, patched with weeds. Our shack had a tin roof and thin walls, smelling of damp wood and someone else's life. Papa found work in a textile mill, his hands now stained with dye, his pride bruised by harsh foremen, his shoulders hunched under a new world's weight. Mama cleaned houses for city folks, her hands blistered, her eyes dull with exhaustion. The light, I remembered, fading. At Willow Creek Elementary, kids mocked our accents, my patched dresses, my braided hair smelling of olive oil, calling us Dagos and Wops. I'd run home, tears burning, hiding in the corner, and Mama would hold me, her hands bleach-scented, her voice firm. "Maria Rosa, you're stronger than their words. You're Italian, American, enough." But I didn't feel enough, not with watery soup for dinner, Papa's whiskey turning his eyes hard, or the cold creeping through our walls, chilling our bones through long winters. Poverty chained us tighter each year. Papa drank more, cheap liquor making his temper flare like dry grass, his voice shaking our shack as he yelled at Mama over an extra onion, though we barely had bread. His gentle hands turned to fists, his eyes clouded with rage I didn't know. Giovanni, 15, grew restless, his laughter gone, running with boys like Tommy Doyle, a local troublemaker who stole from the junkyard, their laughter harsh under streetlights. Carlo, 13, buried himself in library books, dreaming of a college we couldn't afford, his hands trembling as he read by candlelight when the power failed. Angela, 9, faded, her brightness dimmed, sitting quietly with Nonna's rag doll, her pigtails still. I'd braid her hair, tell her Nonna's stories, trying to bring back her smile, but her eyes looked past me, searching for the son we'd had left in San Giovanni. By 1966, at 16, our family was a house of cards in a storm. Giovanni got caught stealing hubcaps, Papa's belt leaving welts on his back, red as his shouts. One August night, their fight shook the walls. A chair broke. Mama screamed, "Antonio, stop!" And the door slammed, sharp as a gunshot. Giovanni was gone, leaving a note on a torn napkin. "I'm sorry, heading west. Don't look for me." Mama sobbed, clutching his sweater, pressing it to her face as if she could hold him in its threads. Papa burned the note in the sink, his face stone, his voice low. "He's no son of mine," he said, and the silence was louder than any shout. A wound that festered. I dropped out of school, worked at Betty's Diner, pouring coffee for truckers and farmers, their tips, pennies, nickels, going to Mama's jar. But it was like pouring water into a cracked pot, leaking faster than I could fill it. Carlo got a scholarship to a community college in 1967, a glimmer of hope, but his leaving left the house quieter. His letters about history classes fading until they stopped. His silence a fresh cut. Angela, 12, turned hard, sneaking out, lips painted with stolen lipstick, dresses too tight, talking about boys like Jimmy Malone, who promised city lights, movies, diners, a life beyond Willow Creek's dust. "I'm not staying in this." "Dump, Maria," she'd snap, lighting a cigarette, her hands shaky, her voice a blade. I begged her to stay, my voice breaking, but she'd laugh, bitter and cold, saying, "You're trapped like Mama." I'd lie awake, clutching Nonna's cross, praying she'd come back, my heart pounding with fear. Then came the night that broke us, a scar I carry still. November 1968, I was 18, my hands raw from diner work. Angela came home late, dress torn, face bruised, eyes empty as a winter sky. She wouldn't speak, but I knew something terrible had happened. Maybe Jimmy, maybe worse, someone who'd hurt a girl too young to know the world's cruelty. I held her as she sobbed, her body trembling, her breath ragged against my shoulder. When I told Papa, he didn't comfort her. He raged, face red with whiskey and shame, roaring, "You shamed this family!" His hand raised. I stepped between them, heart pounding, fists clenched, legs shaking. "Don't touch her," I said, my voice steady despite my fear. Mama sat silent, twisting her apron, her eyes hollow, as if she'd already given up. A week later, Angela was gone. No note, just her blue scarf missing from the hook. I searched city streets, showed her photo to bus drivers, waitresses, a cop who shrugged. Kids like her disappear. My shoes wore sin, Nonna's cross, inni. My hand, prayers to a God I wasn't sure heard me. She was gone, swallowed by the world, and guilt settled in my chest like a stone, heavy with questions of what I could have done differently. Mama stopped baking, her hands idle, her eyes distant, as if Angela took her spirit. Papa drank until he couldn't stand, his words slurring into curses, his steps heavy on the creaking floor. Mrs. Callahan, our widowed neighbor, brought potato soup, her eyes kind but pitying. "Mary Rose, you can't carry the world," she'd say, patting my hand, her own fingers trembling with age. But I felt I had to, working longer shifts, saving every cent, hoping to find Angela. I'd walk the fields at night, Willow Creek's stars colder than Italy's, whispering her name, dreaming of her pigtails, waking to an empty house, the silence louder than Papa's shouts, my failure a weight that crushed me. Life didn't wait for my grief. In 1970, I met James Catalano, a farmhand with a crooked smile, hands rough from tractors, his warmth like Italian sun on my skin, a light in my darkness. He'd sit at the diner's counter sipping coffee, telling stories of his grandpa's farm, mending fences, growing corn, his eyes crinkling when he laughed. We talked for hours about fields, stars, dreams we didn't dare name, our voices soft under the diner's fan. One night he walked me home, gravel crunching, and kissed me under a willow tree, moonlight soft on his face, his hands gentle, but sure. We married in 1972, in a small church with stained glass windows glowing like emeralds. The town celebrating with us. Farmers, mill workers, even Tommy Doyle, now settled, apologizing for Giovanni's troubles. We moved to a little house, where I planted a garden like Mama's. Roses, zucchini, tomatoes, the earth warm under my fingers. James built this table, carving our initials, MR and JC, into the corner, a quiet vow. We'd sit at dusk, watching fireflies dance, his hand warm in mine, and for a moment I felt almost whole, the weight of loss lighter in his presence. We had 3 children, Lilly in 1973, Thomas in 1975, Sarah in 1978. They were my light, each a piece of my heart walking outside my body. Lilly was fiery like Giovanni, climbing trees, her hair wild as a summer storm, her laugh chasing shadows away. Thomas was quiet like Carlo, sketching birds and tractors in a notebook, his fingers smudged with charcoal, his eyes thoughtful. Sarah, the youngest, was gentle, picking daisies, asking for Nonna's stories, her voice soft as she curled up beside me. I taught them Nonna's songs, rolling gnocchi on Sundays while James played his old guitar, its strings worn but sweet, notes mingling with the scent of tomato sauce. We started a roadside stand, selling vegetables and eggs from our hens, their feathers gleaming as they scratched the dirt. It was a simple table with a hand-painted sign, but it kept us fed, and we dreamed of a bigger plot, maybe a truck for city markets. I hung Mama's lace curtains in the kitchen, their edges frayed, a piece of San Giovanni, and lit a candle for Angela nightly, its flame flickering like fireflies, a prayer she was alive. Loss kept coming, relentless as a tide. Mama passed in 1985, her heart too heavy, her garden overgrown, her eyes empty of warmth. I buried her under a willow tree, the earth cold under my hands. Papa followed in 1986, whiskey claiming him, his. Last words a slurred apology, his hand limp in mine. I buried him beside Mama, their graves a testament to a love that bent but didn't break. Giovanni sent a letter in 1988 from California, a mechanic with a wife, Linda, and son, Frankie, apologizing but never visiting. His letter returned unopened when I wrote back, begging him to come home. I kept it in a tin box with Nonna's cross, Angela's scarf, a faded photo of us under the fig tree, a collection of regrets. Carlo, a history teacher in Rochester, drifted away, our calls stopping, his silence a quiet ache, Christmas cards unanswered. The children faced their own storms. Lilly, at 17, got pregnant in 1990, marrying Bobby Russo, a mill worker with a quick temper, his breath often sour with beer. They moved to Ohio, her letters about their daughter, Emma, growing sadder than stopping, Bobby squandering the money I sent. Thomas joined the army in 1994, his letters from Iraq full of sketches, stopping in 2003, listed as missing. I checked the mailbox daily, my heart sinking, the army's cold no updates breaking me. Sarah, my youngest, stayed close, helping at the stand, her hands quick with tomatoes, her smile gentle, dreaming of nursing. She left for college in 1996, her calls from Boston rare but kind, her life bigger than Willow Creek's dusty roads. By 2010, the stand struggled, supermarkets stealing customers with cheap, tasteless produce. The pandemic hit in 2020, the cruelest blow. James got sick, his cough stealing his strength, his laugh silenced. He died alone in the hospital, rules barring me, the glass doors cold as my fear. I sat in the parking lot, clutching his denim jacket, its sleeves frayed, whispering prayers he couldn't hear, my tears falling on asphalt. The stand collapsed, people too scared to buy, cars speeding past our faded sign. The bank took our truck, and I sold Mama's wedding ring to keep the lights on, my hands trembling, her last piece gone. At 70 I was widowed, broke, with 6 hens and a garden, Willow Creek silent, the world holding its breath as I held mine. I've lost them. All Mama, Papa, Giovanni, Angela, Carlo, Lilly, Thomas, James, each a scar on my heart. Sarah calls sometimes, but Willow Creek isn't her home. I sell eggs and tomatoes at the market, my hands rough, my heart heavy. But this garden keeps me going. Roses blooming despite frost, zucchini stubborn as my will, honeysuckle sweet as Nonna's voice in the wind. Yet hope stirred in 2024. A woman, Clara, bought my eggs, her green eyes like Angela's, her smile stopping my heart. She was Angela's daughter, raised in Chicago. Angela gone in 2019 from cancer, but keeping our photo, telling stories of fireflies and Nonna's songs. Clara's children, Antonio and Teresa, named after my parents, visit, their laughter filling my garden like music. I teach them to plant, sing Nonna's songs, their giggles healing old wounds. Clara found Angela's unsent letter from 1995. Maria, I'm sorry. I never stopped loving you. I keep it with Nonna's cross, Angela's scarf, a piece of her returned. Last fall, Frankie, Giovanni's son, came, his eyes like his father's, hands grease-stained from his mechanic work. Giovanni died in 2020, a heart attack in his garage, alone. Frankie drove from California, bringing Giovanni's pocket knife, its blade worn, a piece of my brother. He has a daughter, Maria, named after me, who will visit next summer, another thread mending my heart. In winter 2024, Emma, Lily's daughter, wrote, Lilly gone in 2022, her heart weakened by hardship. Emma visited with her son Joey, his curls like lilies, and we planted a rose bush, its roots deep, a promise of spring. The community has been a lifeline. Mr. Rossi, the grocer, slipping me apples as a girl, died in 1990. His daughter Anna, still bringing zucchini, her hands rough like mine. Mrs. Callahan, gone in 2015, left memories of her apple pies, her voice calling my heart a lion's. Tommy Doyle, a friend after his wild days, helped James with our truck, died in 2018, his sons waving as they passed my stand. These small kindnesses anchored me, reminders that even in loss, there's connection. The garden is my refuge, its rhythms steady. I see Mama's hands in the zucchini, Papa's stories in the roses, Nonna's songs in the honeysuckle, Angela's pigtails in the fireflies, James's laugh in the hens' clucks, Lily's spirit in Emma, Thomas's sketches in my dreams, Sarah's gentleness in the wind, Clara's eyes, Frankie's hands, Joey's curls. Each is a seed growing despite the frost. In 2000, a package from Italy brought Nonna's notebook, her songs in faded ink, which I sing to Antonio and Teresa, their voices joining mine. In 2010, a cousin, Sophia, sent a photo from San Giovanni, our childhood faces clear, added to my tin box. In 2025, Carlo's wife Elena called. He'd died in a car accident, a professor keeping my Christmas cards unopened. She sent a wooden bird he carved, its wings delicate, a piece of him home. Love and loss are two sides of a coin, shaping each other. I carry the fights, Papa's rage, Giovanni's rebellion, Angela's flight, and the love, Mama's bread, James's warmth, my children's laughter. I'm 75, my hands rough, my heart scarred, but I'm here, tending this garden, telling my story, a life of poverty, heartbreak, but also love. Nonna's songs, James's initials, Clara's visits, Joey's roses. It's not perfect, but it's mine. Maybe it reminds you of your own struggles, loves, strength. Hold them close, because all we have is the people we love, the stories we tell, the earth that holds us, steady under roses that bloom no matter what.